So there is a classification based on the way that the muscle fibers run. The first one is called parallel muscles. These are the type of muscles that the fibers run parallel to the long axis of the muscle. So this is the long axis, and they run parallel to that. So there are different types. One is called just the general parallel muscle. So an example of that is the biceps muscle that is in the arm. Another one is called parallel muscles with the tendinous bands, and here is that it has these tendons that the muscles fibers attached to it. An example of that is in the rectus abdominis in the abdomen. And the other one is the wrapping muscle, and this muscle is located in the forearm area. The second type is called a convergent muscle. So here is that there is a muscle fibers start from a broad area, and then it converge to the tendon in a small area. An example of that is the pectoralis muscle in the chest. Then is another classification is called Pennate muscle, and here is the muscle fibers runs oblique to the tendon. So one of them is called unipennate muscle that is only on one side. An example is a muscle that is in the forearm. The other one is called bipennate. So these are coming from the two sides. The muscle fibers are coming from the two sides. And that can be in the thigh area. An example of that, multi-pennate, is that the fibers are coming from multiple different areas. So like this, you can see it. An example is in the deltoid, so the shoulder muscle here. And the last one is called circular muscle. It is covering the opening of body parts like mouth, eyes, anal area, and genital area. When it contracts, it closes the area, and when it relaxes, it opens the area. There's a different classification based on levers. The lever is a rigid bar that moves on a fixed point, and that fixed point is called fulcrum when a force is applied to it. So there is different classification. The first class of lever is here is the fulcrum is in the middle, and you have here the load or the weight, and you have the applied force. An example of that is in the neck area, that when the neck muscles in the back contracts, the head is elevated. The second class of levers is that the load is in the middle and the fulcrum is on one side and the applied forces on the opposite side. An example of that is in the ankle area, that the posterior leg muscles contract, and then there is a movement in the foot area, so the body weight can be elevated against gravity. And the third one is called the third class levers, and here is that applied forces in the middle, fulcrum is on one side and load is on the opposite side, and this is the most common type of levers that you can see in the body. An example of that is the biceps muscle in the arm. The naming of the muscles, there is a big section of that, so I will not go over it. If you're not familiar with the naming, if you want to memorize the actual meaning of each muscle, then you can go and look at over the textbook. It's not very useful for me to go over it. And another topic is the division of the muscles. So we divide them in the axial and appendicular. So similar to the skeletal bones, the same idea here in the skeletal muscle. For the axial muscles, so these muscles are located in the head area, so face, the rest of the skull, the neck, the thoracic cavity, abdomen, pelvis, and the back. So that's about 60% of the muscles are located here, and there's different movements are related to that. For example, movement of the head, neck, abdomen, movement during breathing, all of them relate to axial muscle. The other 40% depends on the appendicular muscles, and these are the shoulder and hip girdles, and also the limbs, upper and lower limbs.